my name is Sydney Janssen. I am currently the Air Matters Program Evaluation Intern for the Tribal Healthy Homes Network. And today I'm looking forward to the opportunity to share some of my key takeaways from the Air Matters evaluation process. So as Gillian mentioned, the Air Matters Toolkit is a 10-piece set of tools designed to improve one's indoor air quality. And with my research, I wanted to understand the tribal and agency experience to strengthen the Tribal Healthy Homes Network support with the Air Matters Toolkit program. In addition, I also wanted to learn about the innovations and successes and lessons learned for the Air Matters Toolkits, and I'm looking forward to sharing about those with you today and with future webinars. So in total, my data set consisted of 16 representatives from tribes and agencies that I conducted semi-structured interviews with. And to be eligible for this evaluation, they must have been a tribal staff member or an indoor air quality professional, and they must have ordered and distributed the Air Matters toolkits, or they have implemented their own toolkit program. So to illustrate the overall uses of the Air Matters Toolkit program and to provide a general snapshot for you all, we've assembled this data. And as you can see, people have different application types. So on the left, we see people who have used it for outreach and education within my 16 people cohort. And then we also see that they used it as an intervention strategy through distribution. And so half of the programs had a specific target population in mind, such as families with asthma or people within the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families program. And the other half used it to distribute or educate just the general community of tribal members and residents. And what's interesting is that it was really common for people to use the intervention approach, and they ordered more toolkits than people who used them for education and outreach. And in the sample, over 90% of the toolkits ordered for intervention were distributed, which is great. So when I was reflecting on my interviews and my data, I found 4 key themes. The first theme that I found was that people adapted the Air Matters Toolkit program based on their community's needs. And what I mean by that is that some people introduced some new tools into the toolkit, such as buckets, tote bags, or humidifier bags, which just remove some of the moisture and humidity in the rooms. And then some people also took out specific tools. So the pest control kit, radon kit, or the hydrometers were taken out in certain communities. And the reason why they did this was because, well, one, the indoor air quality issue may not have been as prevalent in their community. For example, some communities didn't have lead-based paint as an issue or pests, so they didn't have to distribute those materials, as well as some of the tools were not practical to distribute. So for example, the radon kit required that you take a sample and send it out for testing, and that wasn't necessarily practical in some communities. And so my second key theme is that people specified their methods and goals when implementing these programs. And so what I mean is that when you're implementing a toolkit program, you should clearly identify your goals. So is it to educate or intervene? And choose the appropriate method that best fulfills the purpose. So education and outreach or intervention. And what I found is that programs were most successful in community engagement and by doing that. So if they wanted to intervene, they distributed most, if not all of their toolkits. And if they wanted to do community outreach and educate, they did so at several local events. And in combination with this, having a timeline for distribution and education helped with them meeting their goals. And something that I want to acknowledge is that funding could serve as a determining factor in your method and goals. So some budgets allowed tribes to purchase only 1 kit for educational purposes, whereas others were able to purchase more to distribute. Either way is fine. It's a great method either way. And so my third theme was that there were 2 main factors that impacted the engagement methods. So for one, your program type. Whether you are educating people or trying to intervene, that influences how you engage with people and initiate these conversations, as well as recipient interest and response. So when interacting with people, the staff persons tended to adapt their approach. So if people were more interested, they might answer more questions, go into a little bit more detail. If people were less interested, then they might have just dropped the toolkit off and offered their contact information if they had any questions. And the final theme that I saw within my research was the intensity of engagement differed by program. And what I mean is that some programs were high intensity, meaning that, for example, they scheduled one-on-one conversations ahead of time with each recipient and distributed the tools and demonstrated the toolkits. So as you see, it's high community engagement versus medium intensity would be having conversations with individuals and answering those questions, but perhaps doing that without scheduling that beforehand. And then low intensity could be utilizing another department or program to distribute the kits, which all of these are valuable. It's just a matter of how intense their engagement with each person was. So aside from the 4 themes that I mentioned previously, there were several interesting ways that people innovated. So for one, programs varied in their strategies. A unique aspect of the Air Matters Toolkit is that it can be adapted to fit the needs of many communities, and it can be distributed through many channels. So for example, some people used it at health fairs, raffles, community events, whereas others used Meals on Wheels or schools or distributed it directly to elders or homeowners. Next is that people use the Air Matters Toolkit to spark conversations. So for tribes who use the Air Matters Toolkit as an outreach and education tool, they use this as like visual tools to initiate conversations about indoor air quality and as a method to encourage people to ask questions about indoor air quality. One of the people that I interviewed mentioned that they were able to answer questions about indoor air quality that some people might not typically ask, such as what is mold or what do I do if lead paint is in my house? So really building that rapport through this demonstration. And finally, they illustrated the importance of indoor air quality and its impacts on health. And the last innovation that I saw was that people partnered with other departments to be multi-strategic. So reaching out to as many people as possible, reaching out to the community as much as possible, trying to promote that behavior change or educate people. And in terms of COVID-19, some tribes used other departments to distribute the tools, which Tiffany will be talking a little bit more about shortly. So thank you all so much for your time today. Next week, I will be talking about the innovations, successes, and lessons learned from the Air Matters Toolkit program. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Thank you.